tell you about revenue. You just want to know what it is. The message that sends is we're not a one-song star. We have an album, we have a lot of songs. But we watch, we share information, and we monitor. And that, I think, on existing projects, provides an incentive for people in future projects to want to come to you. Because you're not going to be jumping up and down, going ape, whatever, saying, well, you're decimating our schools. You're doing this, you're doing that. I mean, doesn't everybody live for Christmas Eve so they can displace a widow or an orphan? And that's what people think with TIF commission.
Right.
So you know how it works. You know the numbers and you know how to watch them. And if I wanted a neighborhood group to know what I was doing, and if I wanted to earn their support, you would be the group because you would talk my language. You would talk to me about the real world, about numbers, and about accountability.
Ron, how does that look with two things, with the Cerner project now, because you know there are some issues about the school districts and concerns there. How does it look with Cerner, and then an upcoming project like Oxford on the Blue? Cerner, we have to kind of jump in the middle and say, Heather, can you bring us up to date now? But we kind of know what's going on.
Well, why don't you keep these for good?
Okay, thank you.
Well, all right, I'm not going to talk.
Specifics.
Well, no, here, Cerner, I don't have any problems. It's a project, it's approved. I'm old, and I have old ways. And one of the reasons I've avoided, I can always come in an environment like this. But oftentimes when you have developers or whatever, when I first got on the TIF commission, the idea was that if you heard something, if you attended something, you needed to disseminate the information to everybody. That's perhaps not the way it's done all the time, but that's the way I was trained. So when you're talking about, with a developer and you're talking about them, don't feel that I don't care about the neighbors. I do. If you need information, if you want help in any way, I can always, to the best of my ability, try to leverage that for you. But I'm not going to start talking about projects that haven't come through the TIF process.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
not specifically.
So, but we can talk about CERN. You monitor it. And you know what else you should monitor? MBE and WBE. The TIF commission, we have actually in the past been told that developers didn't come through the TIF because we were rather robust in the way we reviewed TIF, MB and WB requirements. First of all, the requirements aren't TIF. It's the city of Kansas City. Do you know?
Isn't it really the federal government?
No.
No?
The federal government has laid down through Supreme Court decisions what you can do to have policies. And one of the things, when people are talking about, well, we don't have to do this in this community in Kansas or this community in Missouri, generally the reason they don't have to do it is because the community has never set aside the funds to do a disparity study. It takes a disparity study. You have to develop the base relationship. Second of all, it's amazing how many people think that the TIF commission, that our policy is a set-aside. It is not. It is not a set-aside. What happens is the city of Kansas City did an original disparity study, they have done subsequent disparity studies, and they say that in these fields there's enough work that can be done and bid by other people. Minority businesses and women-owned businesses. All we ask, well, let's start up a little. When a developer comes forward, they are told to check with the city's Human Relations Department. not the TIF commission. And they tell them in these fields, in the scope of work, there are minority and women-owned businesses. And we want them included in your bid packet. And they send out bid packets. When I first started, we had a meeting with a developer who didn't. And I asked a question that was really interesting. I said, you know, in your private work, how many women-owned businesses or minorities participate by getting a bid packet? Not that they get the job, they just get the packet so they can bid on the work. And the answer came back real quick, none. Well, the city of Kansas City decided as a policy that they had to at least be informed. And the city of Kansas City, through its Human Relations Department, sets up what percentage should be available for work. And then the developer, in their TIF agreement, has said that they will try their best to get there, to involve people. Let's get this straight. Who are these people we're talking about? Well, some would say they're minority businesses or women-owned businesses. I think what I would say is they are taxpayers and residents of Kansas City who are giving up money for this program to go forward, and all they're asking for is a chance to be included in a bid.
How do they give them that money?
By paying their taxes. If they own a house in a TIF area, that increment, we're taking, these funds are going to make up for the shortfall. The but-for test is acknowledged, and it is to improve our communities. Well, if it's improving our communities, then it ought to improve and be something that all of our community can participate in. What do they have to do? Well, there's 9 points. How did they advertise? Well, there's a hard one. But these 9 things are just what they did initially to make sure people knew about the project. You'd be surprised out of 9. Every now and then we come up with someone that signs a contract, agrees to do it, and did 1 or 2. Oh, by the way, can they get out of hiring minorities and women? To a certain extent they can. Precast concrete. The city says that there's not a sufficient network of MBEs and WBs to do that work. So they don't give them, if on that portion of your work, if there's no workforce for it, we're certainly not telling you to go out and hire and train people. If you're buying very, very sophisticated electrical component systems that the manufacturer will not honor the warranty, and we're talking 6 figures and up, if they're not installed by an authorized person, then you know what, that's going to be installed by an authorized person, however that shakes out. But what we've done in the past is we've created teaming agreements where they might bring somebody else in and help them learn how to do it. All I'm telling you is that I think every group has a stake on when people don't treat people like neighbors. None of us are enhanced. So, yeah, I'd monitor the money, I'd monitor the accountability of it, I'd honor their commitment. You know what? There was a wonderful, wonderful dear sweet gentleman, Phil Kirk, and we were walking around the DST facility downtown. And Phil was very, very proud. And we said, Phil, your plantings and your landscaping are dead. And that was landscaping was part of our plan. Phil said he'd look into it. Next time I went to a meeting downtown and drove by, saw Phil and asked him about it. He said, well, we agreed to do it. It just went through the cracks, nobody thought about it. You guys have, if you occasionally look at your projects, if you occasionally look at the commitments and have their teams out, then if I was doing a project and I knew you were probably gonna do the same thing with mine, I'd want to explain it to you. And I'd want to talk to you about it. I'd want your support. The other thing is, it gets people involved. Because sometimes people get involved on a single issue. Like, I live around. Okay, well, we'd like to monitor. Would you like to be involved in that? They do grow on it. So, just be involved. Anytime you feel like you're not getting information or getting what you want, let me know. I'm not going to be there forever, but the system will be there.
When is your term?
I don't even know.
Who were you appointed by first?
It's an interesting story. Emmanuel K. I went in to resign with Mark Funkhauser. You know what he told? I love the quote. He was quoted in the paper. He said, the TIF Commission is a force of evil. At my age, it's complimentary to consider a force in any man, let alone evil. I mean, when's the last time you saw an old man walking around and said, "Why, God, that's a force"? But no, I was in Portland, Oregon, enjoying my grandchild's birthday, and got a call from Slice, someone in his office, and came back. Anyway.
Before you wrap up, you sound like you're about to wrap up.
I am.
Okay. How do we, my last question, kind of, well, yeah, it was my last question for tonight. How do we, if we have like a group, like our normal group of people, when we meet each month, we probably have a room of like maybe 50-something people. If we want other kind of soldiers marching with us to keep an eye on these groups and to be prepared when a developer comes to us and says, we want to do this project, we want your support. How do we educate our community? What's our next step? How do we go bigger?
Why don't you get one or two of your people together, and why don't you come down to EDC and we'll figure out how to do it.
We'll do that.
Okay. I had I was in a car accident just a wee bit ago, so I reached the point where I'm stood as long as I can stand.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
So much.